Super progressive. What is good, everybody? Today we have a really special producer and DJ joining the podcast. And this is because I know on Instagram I'm always very excitable and very enthusiastic about a lot of different things. But since I discovered our guest's music not too long ago, he is definitively my favorite producer in the progressive underground scene right now. And to have him on the podcast is just so exciting. So yeah, today our guest is Mike Griego. Mike, how are you doing, man?
Hey man, how are you doing? Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you so much for everything that you've been saying about me and the exposure that you've been giving me through your channel. So I'm more than grateful and very happy to be here with you, man. Thank you.
So I think it's really exciting for me because while this channel normally focuses on the history of progressive underground music, um, how I discovered you was a combination of the past and the present coming together. The first time I ever heard your name was I posted a clip of Hernan Catano and Nick Verone in Greece, and they were playing your remix of Satoshi Tomi's Love in Traffic. And the comments just started filling up with, check out more of Mike Griego's music, check out more of Mike Griego's music. He's awesome. And luckily for me, that week, you had a new release out, and that track was called Death. And I
Hmm.
can't explain how much of an impact this track had on me. I think we all go through it as fans of this music where you kind of go in a rut almost, where you can go days, weeks without wanting to get into the music and not wanting to go discover new music and just listen to other music in general. I was listening to rock music, I was listening to punk, and it was your track, Deaf, that really got me back into the swing of things and got me back inspired. And really from that moment on, I've been in your messages nonstop just because I was like, this is not only an amazing track, but it's the sound I've been looking for in the current underground scene. It's energetic, it has pace. I think it comes in at 126 BPM, which for the scene right now is really, really rolling. And it has a great melody. And it really just found me at the perfect time.
Well, man, thanks so much for your words, and I'm humbled. I just do this because I just love creating music. And sometimes when people give you feedback, you don't even expect that reaction because you put it out in the world, and then happens what happens. You don't have any control about that. And regarding the phases, well, we all go through that. I hardly ever listen to electronic music, to be honest, like as a listener because I'm so fatigued, honestly. And I do the same thing. I listen to rock, I listen to punk music, I listen to hardcore, 80s, 70s, 60s, the Beatles. I hardly ever like listen to electronic music um, here at my place. I do sometimes, of course, I listen to promos and I have a friend who helps me with, filtering a little bit because, you know, we'll get into that, I'm sure, but the genre is a little bit stagnant and it's tiring, to listen the same kind of vibe over and over. So yeah, I have a friend that helps me a little bit to filter out some of the better tracks because I'm at the studio working on my own tracks most of the time or teaching, I have some students, so it takes a lot of time just to go through all the promos and everything. So I need a little bit of help with that. But regarding deaf, yes, thank you. Is what I look for. I try to look for new formulas. To combine different. If everybody's producing 120, 123, I'll try to go above. Just try to put myself outside the box with every aspect of music production. Sometimes I get it better. Sometimes it needs a little bit more work, but yeah, that's my goal basically. Thank you so much for your words, man.
Um, I think I think it's those different tracks that really stand out now more than ever. I can totally relate to you because, I try and listen to every progressive track on Beatport each Friday. It's about 2,000 tracks. Uh, my in-flight feed is probably only a fraction of yours, but getting through that too. And you listen. I was talking to, one of your good friends and someone I really look up to, Graziana Rafa, who runs Sud Beat with Hernan, and Sander Kleinenberg also speaks to this a lot. You're listening to the 2,000, 3,000 tracks to hopefully find the 8, 9, or 10 tracks that really resonate with you. And in this sea of noise and clutters, your productions have really broke through for me. And to my understanding, it's kind of how you have been approaching your label as well.
Yes, we like to think that we're trying to do a little bit of counterculture. If, like, for example, if the progressive scene or if the scene in general is like pushing for a shorter breakdowns, we're gonna do them longer. If the scene is filled with bass heavy tracks, we're gonna do it more melodic, or we're gonna have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but never trying to please anybody. I'm not doing this because I'm selling a lot of tracks, actually. So we're trying to contribute a little bit with the scene, and the scene has given me so much and us so much. But today everything is measured in sales, right? So success is a really, if we're looking to be successful, like, what are we going to do? We're going to have to please whatever the DJs are playing. If you check the top 10 or top 20, there are tracks there that don't even fit the genre, right? So it's a different type of sound. So I'm never going to get those DJs who are already playing those tracks to get like my perspective. So I'm doing what I like, and regardless of the outcome, it's just what I like. It's what I play, and people like it, or they might not like it as much, but it's what we feel. Me and Luca, my partner, at the A Line in the Sand, it's what we feel like we have to do. We like this type of tracks, like maybe longer breakdowns. People are impatient now. Um, if you have like a 2-minute breakdown, it's unfathomable, right? Right? It's like it's too long. But before, in the beginning, everything was about breakdowns. 2-minute long breakdown, more trancy, tribal. And these things, these aspects, I think we're losing them a bit. So we're trying to put it back a little bit. That's it. That's what we're gonna try to do, basically.
I have a question that comes to mind
Sure.
regarding your role as a label manager, because in some ways it seems like almost like two things going against each other, where it could be advantageous for um, a listener to listen to a track and the characteristics of the track, maybe not just the sound, but some characteristics of it. They can say, oh, that's a Line in the Sand track because of its character. But you're also trying to bring different sounds under your label and not be defined by one sound. How do you balance that as a label manager with the tracks that you sign?
That's a really good question. But as for now, I think since we're only releasing my own tracks, I think that there's some identity there that we can all relate to. My identity as a producer, and I think that what makes it cohesive. As for now, I only have signed one other producer. I'm not gonna disclose it now. It's because it's not really finished the EP. He hasn't really completed the other track for the EP, but he's a great producer. But the problem is that most of the track that we're getting are not really looking for a particular sound or identity. They're just making another progressive track. Like if you grab the top 100, grab one, I get those, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that I was talking about this with Graziano the other day, and many other producers that, Paul Deep and other producers that are close to me, and we have these conversations, and they all say the same thing. We can agree that there are 10 producers that are really above average, and we all can agree that these producers are really good. Uh, just to name a few: Guy J, Jamie Stevens, Casper Common, Tantum, Mike Risch. There's some producers that we can all agree that are pretty good. And then the rest of them, they have good songs and they're well produced, but I think that they're lacking a little bit of search in the middle, because the search for the new thing, the search for the new sound is what's gonna give it your identity and originality. It's like I get demos mostly from people who are making it's okay what they're doing, but at my label we're trying to release music that's a little bit different. It doesn't matter the genre, actually. You could do it more housey. You could do it more breakbeat. You could do it more electronic, down tempo, whatever. But I have to listen to the project and feel like, okay, this guy was searching for something here. And you could see the leads there, the clues that the guy was looking for something. And eventually he found I don't know, a synth or the way the modulation develops or something inside the track that makes it relatable, but also original, that it has like a small twist so that it still sounds like you've heard it before, but it's new. It's complicated, but this is what we're looking for. This is our idea of music. It's like we can't really forget about the roots of the genre that we love, which is dark, tribal, sexy, but it could also be melodic, trippy. And I like all these aspects. And I feel like today music it has been evolving into something less memorable. And I think it's just what you were saying, right? It's like, okay, I'm listening to this. There's a lot of music, new producers every day release more EPs, more labels, but somehow we struggle to find gems. And I think this is why, because I was thinking today, like technology, right? It comes with a lot of improvements, but it also, it has its downsides that maybe just because things are easy, like more automated or stuff like that, then people put less effort, a little bit, or maybe songs that are not really well polished end up in some labels because it's easier to have a label. So I think it's I don't want to say that we're doing the God's work, because it's not. It's just it's the sound that we love, and it comes natural to us to just be like this. Just try to push forward new artists with a vision. With the vision, that's the right term, I think.
So when you have a production in front of you that you're starting, one of your own productions, you say, you're searching for your label for other tracks that have this search going on.
Mhm.
How are you arriving at something that inspires you in your own production in terms of your workflow? Does an idea come to you that you then work a track around, or are you discovering that idea as you work through the track?
I think it's a mindset to step yourself outside the box all the time. Like it's a mindset. Like for example, let's say I start with a beat. I always start with the beat with the drums, right? And maybe because the drums are for me are the part of the track which requires less from you. So I always try to stay humble with that, in terms of, okay, let's start with a humble beat and then see where that leads me. I'm not gonna be overreaching and maybe taking too much space from the mix with the drums. And also, since I think creating music is like a job too, I do it every day. So some days you're not as inspired, but you still have to work. So that's why I always start with the beat, because it's the part that demands you less in terms of inspiration or being super good, right? You put a kick drum, a little bit of a hi-hat, some loops, some percussions that you're already rolling. It's different if you want to start with a melody and it demands a lot from you, right? It has to be catchy. The synth has to be nice, original. The modulations have to be interesting. So it's a little bit more work to put, I think, just to start. So I always start from the beat. And as I said before, I think it's a mindset. I was talking with my student today about this. Like I try to, for example, if I find when I'm working on a new track, I find that I've already done that. I'm true to myself and I erase it, or try to, always not to lie to yourself, to be honest with yourself and say, hey, am I abusing this resource? I think I did it twice already, so it might focus on something else. So if you can stay humble with that, I think it's a good start. And I try to apply that same logic to every aspect of production. Let's say that I made two tracks that are already too bass driven, just too up for the dance floor. Maybe I can go some deeper, like for example, like a track like Back in Trance, right? Which is a little bit more introspective, more melodic, focused. And same thing with other aspects. Like if I'm relying too much on effects, try to do something more melodic, or even from the harmony aspect, right? Try to work more on that, and always try to put myself in the opposite of the track that I did before, and that forces me not to repeat myself. As I said, it's a mindset.
I want to speak to a little bit about the discipline that you touched upon as a producer. It reminds me of one of my favorite books. It's called um, The War of Art. It's by Stephen Pressfield. It's a play on words of the art of war. But in The War
Mhm.
of Art, he says, I only work when I'm inspired, and that inspiration hits 9 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Do you think this discipline is what eventually it's because when we come to production, I think from the outside, like just listeners like me kind of view it as almost like a God-given talent. But how much of skill as a producer and in terms of producers who want to take the next step and raise their game to the next level in terms of consistency, how important is that discipline?
These are really good questions. I'm telling you, you should do this for a living. No, I mean, it's a complicated aspect of music production. Um, at the beginning, when I started making music, I used to feel like I had some talent, right? And what is talent? Well, it came to me easy to make music. I didn't struggle as much, but the problem is that that is nothing compared to all the hours that I had to, to work on tracks that I couldn't get done in the end. So consistency and dedication and obsession always beat talent, for sure, I can tell you. And through this whole 15, 16 years of career, I had many students, and many have proved me wrong. Many students that I thought that didn't have enough talent to make it ended up doing decent stuff. Um, and I used to believe that, okay, you can't tell which note is which. You're not gonna make it, because I thought that aspect of music production was legitimately super important, and if you don't have that, you're not gonna make it. But then some other students showed me that they had other talents or other skills more developed, and they still got to a good result. But the one thing that I think that I believe wholeheartedly that makes a difference is the obsession of wanting to make great music. And that's what's lacking most of the time. Because people have dedication, but they always have something else to do. Like for example, most students uh, when I tell them, hey, you're not putting as much work as you should. That's why you're not getting the results. They get frustrated and angry. And they say, yeah, I put effort. I work 2 hours every day. And I say, not to compare yourself, but I used to put 10 hours a day when when like I had no job back then. So I had time when I was learning, like, I don't know, 17 years ago. I got fired, so I had like 6 months with no job or something like that, or not steady job. So I had a lot of time, and I used to put more than 10 hours a day, but I wasn't counting. That's the thing. And I think that's what's missing a little bit. It's the obsession for reaching a certain type of quality, uh, and because you love it, it's not like a job. If it feels like a job, then that's it. That's the problem. You're counting. Oh, Mike told me I should put 2 more hours a day. You shouldn't. You should put as much as you want, and you should have you should be I mean, obsession. It's a great thing. It leads you to problems too, because you don't go out, you lose socially, maybe you don't have a girlfriend, maybe you don't see your family as much, but it's your passion. I don't see it as a bad thing. On the contrary, I think it's great. Uh, but that's the way I see it. I think that's the main issue, that people don't understand that in order to be great, you have to be putting more hours into it, I think.
When did this obsession that now has become your life work? When did this start for you?
Um, well, it was at the beginning, it wasn't like this because when I started, I didn't even think that I could make a living out of it, honestly. And at the beginning, it was just more like passion. I always made music. I had bands before, like punk rock bands, hardcore punk, post-punk, sort of emo type of music. We did everything.
What
Pop.
what 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 type of music were you listening to at that time outside of electronic music? Like,
Oh,
or
no,
what type of music were your bands making, or what bands inspired you?
it's more like the post-punk era from Chicago, like I want to say math rock, or like I don't know, maybe Fugazi, um, maybe Black Flag, and more towards the 90s, like more underground bands like Get Up Kids, Elliot, many underground bands that are not really well known. For example, one of my favorite bands is called American Football. It's one of my favorite bands. You know them?
This is the music that I am listening to outside of electronic music right now. I am doing my emo deep dive as we
Wow.
speak right now. Um,
Jeez, that's
yeah,
that's such
like it's really been awesome because in some ways I feel like it's the opposite of what I'm experiencing with electronic music. It's like the messaging is so direct and it cuts straight to the core. The tracks
Mhm.
are 2 to 3 minutes long. But yeah, I'm listening to music that I never thought I'd ever get into, and music I thought was lame in the past growing up, but I'm listening to like Taking Back Sunday, Dashboard Confessional,
Oh, I used to
brand new. And this is all new to me,
oh,
but I'm obsessed, man. Henry Rollins of Black Flag. I read more of his literature and listen to more of his podcasts than
yeah.
any other artist there is. It's really cool to learn that's the kind of music that first inspired you and was your first love.
Well, that was more of the music that I used to listen back in my 20s or something like that. But I've listened to many different sorts of genres in rock music. Like I'm a big fan of the 90s, like Metallica, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all these type of Alice in Chains, Guns N' Roses,
Yeah. Jane's
metal,
Addiction is my favorite
Gaines,
out of that group. Yeah.
Nine Inch Nails, all these bands that you know it's a different like for example for me Deftones, big Deftones fan. um but for me that's the way I used to conceive music. That's how my first approach with music was, that actually. So music, every song has to have a meaning. So in a sense, when I started making electronic music, I was my friend Matias La Rosa, who is a producer still. He used to give me advice because I didn't understand all these rules. What do you mean he has to have an intro and an outro and don't spend too much here in this part because the DJ has to mix it? What is that? So for me, that was meaningless, right? So I need to leave room for the DJ to mix it. I don't give a crap about this. I'm gonna just put melody here, so whatever. So I think that the meaning aspect, I think I try to bring it back that, to the music that I'm doing right now, in the aspect that I think some of the electronic music that we're listening right now, it's a little bit meaningless, too ethereal or vain a little bit. And as I said, this is my own perspective. I'm not saying that the other artist's perspective is not valid. It's just saying what I feel, eh, that I try to bring. I try to bring it back a little. Each track has to have its own identity. And some tracks it's okay if it's more for fun. They don't have to be so serious. That's okay. But Usually those tracks I leave them for the dance floor only, and I don't release them usually. Uh,
How'd you like eventually get into electronic music? Was it part of you naturally growing up and going to the clubs with your friends and you finding the music that way? Or was it you as a musician saying, this is actually this thing going on over here seems really interesting to me and I'm going to get into it from like the producer side?
no, because what happened is that I had a band back in 2004 with my friends. And at that time, I was studying advertising at a university, and I met different people from different backgrounds. And back then, electronic music was more like a trend. Trendy was seen as like a trend back then. I'm talking about 2003, 2004. And I met this friend at the university, still my friend Pablo, who introduced me to his father used to work um, at some sort of like Navy or something like that, and they used to have a little bit of a, the parties were done at the Bay Area. So he had tickets, so usually had tickets because of his dad, and he invited me a couple of times, and for me it was like from the rock scene, right? And I'm not gonna go to that shit. And eventually he convinced me and I went there. And as soon as I got into it was I think it was a Hernan Cattaneo and Janky XL, if I'm not mistaken. As soon as I hit the room, the energy was like, whoa. Because if you've ever been to a rock concert, you see like the energy is completely different to what you experience when you go to see a DJ, or at least what you used to experience. And I was hooked just from the vibe, like people were all just connecting in a different level. They're not judging as much, and just the sounds were so different in my head. And back then, in the 2000s, electronic music was meeting rock. There were many bands that were doing this sort of mix, and that's where I met, or where I heard Infusion for the first time. Uh, and I became such a big fan, and then who would know that I would become friends with Jamie Stevens and host him at my place in Buenos Aires. So shout out to him. And everything came full circle. I started listening to The Prodigy, all these bands who mix punk with electronic. It was, what is this? Underworld, the Chemical Brothers, these bands that you can mention them today, and people still feel like these are great bands. These music, the music that they did back then, you play it today, you do a remix today, and it's still the best track of the night, even with just a small part of the vocal. And to me, that has meaning. It's not just by chance. And so that's how I started, just because of my friend that took me to that party. Yeah, that's how I started.
Oh, it's really cool to hear. I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to bring this into the present. And you're based in Argentina.
Mhm.
And to us on the outside, I'm over in the UK, but pretty much the rest of the world identifies Argentina as the progressive capital of the world right now. And um, from the outside, we see a great admiration for the sound, and it's where not only, the current top producers and DJs go to play, but it seems like Argentina has a great reverence for the pioneers of this genre. An example I'll use is it's like amazing to see Nick Muir go to
Mhm.
Buenos Aires and Rosario or Cordoba or wherever he just was, and playing to a packed dance floor of both older and younger clubbers. And so that's what I think of when I think of the Argentinian scene. And I'm excited to speak with you to kind of cut to the truth of what's going on there because um my first question is, you were someone who got into this music early 2000s, as in my from what I've learned, it really started to move from underground into something not still underground, but something that was gaining momentum.
Yeah.
Um, in your experience, how has progressive in Argentina become part of its musical identity, let's say?
Such a complex subject, even hard for me to even understand it. But if I have to take a guess, I would say that first of all, there's like a cultural aspect that Argentinians, they're passionate about most of the things that has some cultural relevance. We're like that with football, or soccer, however you want to call it, and every sports, uh, we're like that. We're passionate and we want to win and we want to be the best at everything. That's just the mindset of the country, I think, and we're proud. And sometimes that can come across a little bit even harsh, or maybe people might think we're to how do you say it, to big on ourselves, something like that, stubborn or big-headed or something like that, which is not the case. It's just like we love our country, we love the way that we're passionate about things, and that's one part of it, I think. And the second part is undeniable, the work that pioneer DJs have done here. I can name many DJs, but of course, Hernan is the biggest name, because when he was playing in Pasha back in the 90s and early 2000s, just maybe because he was playing here, other DJs were able to come here and play because there was some scene to come. And then I think that that he has always played here, and brought like Danny Howells with him, right? Danny Howells, John Digweed, Sasha, all these great DJs that with time have nurtured the culture, but you need to have time to do that. And what happened here is that since Hernan is like an idol here now, at least people love him, and he's been so consistent with the sound over time. You have a culture, you have people understand music, and it's passed through generations, the appreciation for music and for the DJ. And I think that's the best explanation I can give you. And everything else he's doing for the music, like bringing to Teatro Colón, to the Colón Theater, expanding frontiers with that, the big events that he's doing. And it brings more eyes, more attention, because, like, for example, when he plays Sunset Strips, places like that, for 20,000 people, he's playing underground music for 20,000 people. So maybe a percentage of those of the people who attend there are gonna dig deeper, and maybe they find other producers, great producers. So it can't be understated that the work that they've done all these 20, 30 years, I don't know, it's undeniable. So that's the best explanation that I have. And as I said, it's not only for progressive house. You have a scene for everything here. Techno is big here. Melodic techno is huge here. House is huge here. But it's because people are excited and they love music and they love to show that they're excited too.
Now, the other side of my question is this, because I think from the outside, I may look at Argentina and be like, oh, that's where I need to be because everyone seems to find success there or everyone gets an opportunity there. But knowing what we know about this underground scene and how competitive it is and how much politics can come into play, I was wondering what are some of the challenges that some extremely talented local producers may still face when it comes to making a career out of this music in Argentina?
Ah, well, I mean, who doesn't struggle? Like, even the guys who I think they're doing great, I talk to them and say, no, man, I still struggle with this, I still struggle with that. The problem is that there's too many DJs. It's not a problem. It's the reality, basically.
Right.
And what ends up happening is, as I talk to other producers from all over the world, and they all have the same issue. It's like promoters, they want to sell tickets. So if they see that, for example, my Instagram is not really big, it's all organic. I'm not pushing to have 20,000 or 30,000 followers, which are not organic, right? So there's a inflation, like some artists, they already pay for that, maybe. Um, and then the guy who the investor, let's say, only checks the number. How many followers do you have? And then they'll see if they book you or not. And it's not really only about the music. But my mindset has changed a bit in the last few years, and I understood that it's more. Sometimes it's if you think about it, it's more in your hands than it's not, because you can't get mad at the game. That's the game. That's the rules. You have to play with the rules. So if promoters want a bigger Instagram following, maybe you can work on that as well. It's not only about making music, which was the first part of the better part of my career. I only relied on music. Said, hey, eventually somebody's gonna notice. Eventually somebody's gonna call me, and you still have to work on the marketing aspect of it, and lobbying, just going to parties, people to see you, and all these aspects. It's like it's a job, right? So everybody has aspects of their job that they don't like as much. Well, for me, it's that's one aspect that I don't like as much. Just to, do the photos, the Instagram posts, uh, traveling even. I don't like flying, honestly. If I could, I'm like a studio rat. So if I could stay in my studio and just play music, make music and earn decent money, I would do that for sure. I don't like the 30-hour plane, or staying at the airport so much. But hey, I still love the job. It's still, as I said before, there's this aspect that people need to work on. I need to work on that. I'm still working on that to become better at communicating. But there's some DJs that have that as a that aspect is that they're strong in the marketing aspect, and that's fine too. If they're not as
Prolific.
prolific. Yes, exactly. Maybe there's some producers that are not as prolific, but they're really good at moving themselves with people. And that's good too, because they get the job done. They get gigs. That's the whole point. And before, I used to be maybe more frustrated in terms of that. But now I say, hey, if I need to do this to get the gigs, I'm just gonna do it, because the music aspect, I already have it covered. So I just need to work on that. That's a low point for me. So yeah, it is difficult. There's a lot of talent here, a lot of newcomers, really great producers and DJs, and they're already playing. So it is hard, but it is how it is, and you just have to work through that and do your best to get your message through. You right? Whatever you have to do, you have to do it.
Um, I think I speak for a lot of younger progressive underground fans in saying that a trip to Argentina is becoming a more and more not only popular but important trip.
Mhm.
Almost what it seems like Ibiza used to be. Argentina, not like I'm not comparing the cultures, but I'm just saying in terms of
Yeah.
meccas of music, I
Yeah.
just know a lot of kids my age, a lot of kids I've met in Europe and in the
Mhm.
United States. Argentina is the place that people are most excited to go and experience the music. Could you share with us if we were looking for an authentic underground experience? I'm actually planning my first trip to Argentina in March of next year, so I'm very, very excited. But um, my question is, if someone like me is looking for an authentic underground progressive experience in Argentina, who are some either promoters I can trust or venues that on any night you can kind of go and experience this music, or local DJs who may not be at the front of mind from the outside that are doing great things in the local scene in Argentina?
Well, what happens here is that there's a lot of people who wanna go and listen to good music. So the places pop up from time to time. For example, recently I played at club, fisherman club here at the river, and it's a new place, and it's great. That place is great. It's awesome, and I've never played there before. And those guys from Pulso and other promoters did a great job with the party. There's another place who has been established a little bit already, which is called La Biblioteca, which is really underground. It's a small club, but it's really good. Has really nice sound too, and the place is it's a good experience. It's like a library, so it's full of books and everything. So it has its own charm. And then you have bigger clubs like the Bow, which is a great club, big sound system. But to be honest, if I had to give you a bit of advice, a piece of advice, I would tell you to follow the producers and check where they're playing because, as I said before, new venues pop up from time to time, and maybe it's like a short burst of parties, and maybe they don't do it anymore. Uh, there's another club called Elements. They go on Fridays, I think. They have a good scene there too. It's a nice club, nice sound. I played there a couple of times too. But honestly, you're not gonna if you come to Argentina, it's hard to have a hard time finding gigs. You're gonna find clubs and gigs for sure. That's definitely happening. Even there's places outside from capital city like La Plata, which is like an hour and something away from capital, from the city center, and they're doing stuff there too. So you just have to pay attention and follow some producers to see where they're playing. But definitely at Buenos Aires, if you come, you're not gonna have a hard time. And maybe even big festivals like Mandarin Park, they always have a good like a good offer there. Maybe um I don't know, well, Hernan's party, like he does like three big parties each year. Maybe you can try to combine with that. Like for example, he's playing now in December, so that's a huge party to come. And most people are interested in those events, right? Because it's once in a lifetime, maybe for them. If you come to Argentina, maybe you want to go to a huge event, like the Afterlife type of events, but for progressive. So I think you're not gonna have any issues with that.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm really excited. We've brought this conversation into the present. We've talked a lot
Mhm.
about the past. Um,
Yeah.
let's look at the future of this scene right now because um, no matter what, specifically in progressive underground music, you're always going to have producers that continue to push boundaries. Producers like yourself that are always searching for what's next. So I'm wondering for you and from what you've seen, what are some things that are giving you hope and excitement for the future of this scene?
Um, I think that, well, there's always been periods where the progressive scene has been stagnant, and then something new comes and kind of refreshes. It happened in around 2010, and it happened before, and I think it's due for something new to come. Um, it's hard for me to tell because, as I said, I think Nick Warren talked about this a few years ago too in an interview that said that it's something needs to happen that the genre refreshes itself. And I think it's like a cycle thing where everybody starts copying the whatever it's working, and then some producer comes and breaks the standard, right? And then now that's the new standard. And I think that the last big one was Guy J. I think when he came into the scene, he really broke people's mind, including mine, because it was like a new school sound, right? And I think that I don't know, man. It's uncertain, to be honest. It has to be completely different in a way, and it's also so technical too that it takes time to develop that. that ability to actually reach minds. Because, for example, just to take it as an example, Guy had been releasing for a long time until he actually got the popularity that he got around 2013 or 14 approximately, at least here in Argentina. But his gigs started becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and I could see that from the beginning that this guy's gonna be huge because every time he comes, this place it's packed even more. So you could see exponentially how he became bigger and bigger. Uh, but I don't know, man. Honestly, that's a hard question. I don't know what to answer. It's not like I have hope or not, or that I don't have any hope. I just feel like there's some great names out there making great music, and you could actually see them from afar. They're doing their own thing, and you can count them with your hands. And I think we need more of that, basically. We need more people with their own vision and with ambition to strive for it, to look for that and fight for that vision that sometimes it might not get support, you know. I'm releasing stuff, for example, on my label that it didn't get much support, honestly, from big names. Not all of my releases get support. The support, like for example, I don't know, maybe the first release that we had, yeah, the track Robobest had a lot of support. But the rest of them, they don't, you know, they either don't. But it's my vision, so I have to fight for that and just put it out there, and maybe people would like it, and maybe not. Have you heard Rick Rubin talking about this?
Um, Not specifically.
Well, Rick Rubin said that the you should put it out regardless of the outcome. That it's for you, and you have to just make sure that you did the best that you could do, and that's what I'm trying to do, the best that I can do, and try to improve with each release in terms of sound and in terms of vision and trying to add something to the culture. That's it. That's what gives me hope and what fills my heart that I'm trying to add to the culture that I love so much. I went to so many parties like Moon Parks. I've seen so many DJs many times, and I love that scene. I feel passionate about it. So I want to contribute to that, even with a small grain of salt. And there's so many great names, man, that aren't really that popular. So many great names. So I understand this is a hard profession in terms of reaching success. There are some days that I feel like I don't have any success, to be honest, and some other days I feel blessed. I think it's a human thing to be um, not conform, right? To always want more. And I could tell you stories about other DJs that I thought that are well established, and I asked them, and they are still feeling like they didn't make it yet. And I said, You're playing all over the world. You're charging this amount of money for each gig, fully booked." And they say, "No, I want this, I want that." And so that gives me peace a little bit because this guy who's actually living the life that I want to live is still, you know, searching for something else. They're not conforming. So I don't know. I just try to do what I love, and that's giving me peace, and that's what I wouldn't be able to work a 9 to 6 job. I would kill myself, I think.
Um, so I wanna conclude the interview with this
Sure.
because you've been you've been honestly so nice in giving me a little sneak peek into what's coming up for the label. And I
Sure.
am nothing but stoked. Even the snippets of stuff, the unfinished stuff you've sent me. I am like, oh my gosh, it's just really resonating with me. But for all of the listeners who are either longtime fans of you or potentially some listeners who are just like me and really discovering your music for the first time, what can you say about some upcoming projects for A Line in the Sand? And how can we kind of outside, like, what can we be expecting from you and how can we stay in the loop?
Um, well, the project started because I didn't have an outlet for all these tracks that maybe weren't really getting the support that I wanted from the labels that I wanted to release them. And instead of just releasing them in a label that maybe I didn't feel like, I said, what, well, maybe I'll just put it out on my own label. And my friend Luca helped me with this, with the A&R aspects and putting it together and finding a distribution, right? A distributor. So um, as for now, it's just an outlet for me to put out music that wouldn't have a place to come out, right? So this is what you can expect. You can expect more music from me and more experimental stuff, different stuff that maybe I'm trying out at gigs. Because what happens is that sometimes I have an idea and I think it's too out there. So I do like a fast draft or something and I play it live and I see how it goes. So maybe people write to me and say, hey, what is this track? And when it's coming out? And the track is not even finished. You know what I mean? It's just like the ones I sent you the other day, those tracks, just like I did it like, I don't know, maybe 3 4 hours like that. It's just like I put together the parts. I feel like there's something there. So I put it in a way where I can try it live and then come back to the studio and say, okay, this needs a little bit more work, or this is not like getting the feedback that I want. So this is how it's coming out lately. So, and I still have a lot of music. I have like 40 tracks there sitting. Like we're just like trying to see how to combine them, because there's like, for example, you mentioned Def. That track is like 4 years old and it just came out recently. So I have a lot of music, maybe music that even shared with you, that those tracks are 2 3 years old and I still playing them today. But the thing is, also the sound quality keeps evolving, and some tracks end up sounding a little bit old, if you know what I mean. And just to open the projects and bring it back to more like a higher standard, it just doesn't make any sense. I'd rather keep making more music, and those tracks maybe just leave them for the live setup, so that people, if they want to hear them, they have to come to see me live. Or maybe if I share, like I said, which I don't really like sharing many of my live sets, because after that the track becomes a little bit old, because people listen to them online 24/7. So I'd rather keep them for me and playing them live. And that's basically it. It's more like an outlet for my music. But we keep talking about the struggles to find great music. So my label is new, our label is new. So why would a great producer send me when they could send to bigger labels, more known labels like Bedrock, Sadbeat, well, Lost and Found, which is not here anymore, but all these great labels that are already established. Why would they send them to me? So we're trying to do is just position the label as a good label first, that people understand what the label is all about, because people are sending me music without really knowing what the label is about. We have like 4 releases, so, and it's mostly my music. So when they asked me, I said, hey, why don't you wait a little bit? Wait, we have like a year of music, of my own music. So maybe in a year you get an idea of what the label's looking for, or maybe even what's better, maybe what we are not looking for. And then you try to maybe make some adjustments so that the music fits the aesthetics of the label better. And this is not for me, not for my label only, maybe a piece of advice for other people who want to reach certain labels. Maybe do your own thing with your own twist, but try to make sure that the label might be interested in that. um but it's also good to send something different. You never know with this. It's just curators, from the label might like something completely different. So that's, I don't know, I don't know if that's a good advice actually. but it's I think it's what we would like them to do. If they're going to send me music, I would like them to send the music that would fit the aesthetics of the label, uh but with their own twist, with something new, original, ear catching, you know, personality, identity, not something that's done. If you feel like whatever you're sending me, it's already been done, don't send it. Just make it better, a little bit better, more ambitious. And if you want, we can release it for sure. We're not we're not really strict in terms of genre and stuff like that. We don't care. Actually, my friend, I'm good friends with Teyao. I don't know if you know him, but he has released as Disconnect. That's his name of the duo. I think they're two guys. I said to now, I love your they released an Armadillo for Armadillo from a guy's other label, the Down Tempo, and I love the album. I said, hey, if you have something good, just send me because I'll release that because it's different, it's fresh, and it's more down tempo. And shout outs to him, great musician too.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from this interview is this: as artists, and I'm not a producer or really a DJ, but I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, and I think we all work so hard to get into a comfort zone and a
Mm,
routine and something that we can anticipate will be good because we've done it so many times and we know what works. But what pushes this music forward and the way to make a contribution or the way to take the next step is to get comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone and not
mm.
only not only challenge yourself but challenge the listeners and challenge the labels too to consider something different.
Exactly what I was thinking today that I would say in this interview. And that's a great lead up to what I wanted to say is that I think that it's great for producers to challenge the listeners. Like I was thinking about what Jamie Stevens does, that I love his music because it's always challenging. And if you listen to the tracks, you could listen how he's trying to challenge the listen. Is the tracks that he makes are not as easy to listen. They're still relatable, but there's this search behind it. And I could see all the effort that he puts and to challenge the audience. And I think this is what makes the sound forward thinking. There are many. For example, there's another label that I like, and a producer that I'm enjoying quite much, quite a lot. Who's Sean Harvey,
I
and
just met
and
Sean. He
yeah,
yeah,
great
in
producer.
London.
He's a great producer, and I love the search behind his tracks. And this is what I like. I like people who are forward thinking and that are doing their own. And by the way, when you are in this search, you are gonna make mistakes, and tracks might not be great at the beginning. I have tracks that are not great too, but it's the search that I appreciate. I don't know, some weird synth or some breakdown which is not so typical, maybe weird, and I think that's great. And that's when I hear that stuff, it surprises me, and it is refreshing. So definitely, what you said, it's 100% true that the comfort zone, you work so too hard to get into a comfort zone, but then actually that comfort zone, you need to break it. You need to constantly break it to add new stuff to the comfort zone, right? So feel comfortable while I'm comfortable. And that's what I told just today. I had a student, I said the same thing. I said, hey, you know what? It's great that you get to this thing, but why are you're repeating yourself so often? Just put yourself opposite on the opposite side of what you did last time, and that's a mindset that okay, I did this last time, I'm gonna just go the other way completely. It forces you to just fix the problem in another way because the dynamics of the elements are different, so it's pushing you to do something different every time. And I think that's a good mindset, not to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. And that's what I do. So if I'm producing a new track and I feel like, I already did this in such track, this is too similar, I erase it. I just go, it's just a mindset, actually. And by the way, uh just to close the interview too, I told you when we started talking that I was writing to your page even way before you ever knew me, that I existed as a producer, and I wrote in your page. I said, because you had like I don't know, maybe somebody was bullying you, or I don't know, I don't remember, like saying mean things. And I said, don't stop with this. We actually need somebody who appreciates the genre enough to dedicate a page and dedicate all his efforts just to promote the genre, just to say, hey, there's great music here, and we need more people who appreciate, because there's full of DJs now, and we don't have any we don't have any clubbers. We don't have people who love the genre, who love the music. We need more of that appreciation. And your job is priceless. That's, I think, why so many DJs are, reaching out and becoming so familiar with you, and you're having contact with them, because they know, they understand how valuable is your work. So I want to highlight that, and hopefully more and more eyes will come to your channel. And you're such a nice guy too, so humble. And I'm more than happy to collaborate with you, and giving you more talks or whatever you need, so that the page keeps growing. Because we really need that, man. We need it, and the genre is in a hard state, but we have to keep pushing as the resistance. Actually, that's a great word.
Well, I'm just really, really appreciative of you saying that. I feel like, after conversations like this, I'm always trying to, we all have this like love for this music in our hearts, but I'm always searching for new inspiration to continually light that fire of being like just feeling excited about discovering something new. And this music is still so new to me. I've only discovered it 3 years ago now. And definitely this conversation not only inspires me like to go and search for new music, but for me as a journalist to also step out of my comfort zone, do different things with the page, continue to evolve and try new things and push things forward in my own right. So Mike, just thank you so much for joining us today. And I really can't wait to hear the music that you'll be releasing. And this is just the start of many talks and a lot of coverage I'll be doing on your music. And I'm just super stoked for it. So thank you.
Thank you again, man. And whatever you need, you count with me. And that's it, man. Thank you for a lovely conversation. I hope people will enjoy a little bit of my view on the progressive scene and the scene in general. And I want to thank everybody who's been, well, actually, when you made the post about me, a lot of people follow me. So thank you for that. And hopefully, after this interview, there will be more people who will be reaching out and getting to know me, and my music, and the music of our label. And I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much for everything. And we stay connected, man. We're talking pretty much every week, so we're staying connected.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, buddy.